your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paradise, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Please, before y'all exit the video, make sure y'all hit that like button. It helps to boost my algorithms and it helps to give my channel more exposure. So please hit that like button. Again, I appreciate everybody for all support, for liking, sharing, subscribing. And if this is your first time ever checking out any of my content ever and you like what you hear today, please make sure you like, you share, subscribe before you leave the channel. So nevertheless, I wanted to talk about this, being that I have already did 2 videos. I uploaded 2 different contents pertaining to the divorce of Pastor Devon Franklin and his former wife, Megan Good. So I've already given my intake on that. I'm not going to go too much into it. Y'all already know the deal. After being married for a long, substantial amount of time, over 9 years, they have decided to call it quits. And they had a very civil divorce. You didn't hear anything messy about it. No one had to pay any alimony. No one had to pay any money. And the beauty is no children were conceived. So there's no children that are going to have to feel the effect of a divided household, which I think is the wisest thing they both could have done. More so Megan Good being the one to control that, because as women, we make the decision if we have the power to decide if we're going to have children with our husbands or not. So evidently, she knew there was so much more she wanted to do in her life. So she did not have multiple children in her marriage, even though she had that right to do so, being that she'd been married for a long, substantial amount of time. But anyway, we already all aware for divorce. But what I basically want to talk about was, why are there so many women in ministry? Why so many first ladies leaving ministry marriages? Why are these ministry marriages, clergy marriages, why are they not lasting long? Why does it get to a point in which a woman is willing to leave her husband that is supposed to be a man of God, that is a well-respected leader above his ministry? What happens? What drives a woman to that place in which she realizes that she's better off not continuing with her marriage to her pastor husband? So we're going to go into breaking down the dynamics. I'm going to explain every element. I'm going to break it down to the lowest common denominator as to why first ladies are leaving ministry marriages. Because I know a lot of times when we hear that a first lady and a pastor is divorcing, there's automatically, this sense of disappointment, as if pastors are not human, as if first ladies that are wives, they don't get fed up, as if their marriage is spotless, that these men of God are so well admired that they're not disappointing their wives, that, are there with them every Sunday, every step of the way. It's just like, anytime we hear anybody else divorce, is like to be expected. But when we hear a man of God and his wife divorce, especially a couple that has had such a long-standing, clean reputation, has been walking with God, has set such an fine example, has had a polished, squeaky clean reputation for the most part, when we find out they're getting divorced, it makes us look at them sideways, as if people who know the Lord or live for God are exempt from having problems like anybody else who doesn't have a relationship with God. So I will let you know, the enemy does not care who household he attacks. And just because, you both walk in God, if anything, the enemy, he will attack spiritual marriages quicker than he does those who already are living in sin. Spiritual marriages, he wants to attack because he wants people who don't follow the Lord to believe that, see, it's no purpose in serving God. It's no purpose in a man and a woman praying together as a husband and wife, because, see, y'all end up divorced. See, y'all marriage can still fail. Look at this man of God. Look at this woman of God. You see, they're divorced. So what makes you think having God in your marriage is going to bless your union and make your union, your marital vows, problem-free? Well, there's nowhere in the Bible does it state that he will make your marriage so perfect in which You would not fail each other. You would not disappoint each other. It also doesn't say in the Bible that as long as you both serve a ministry, that y'all are less exempt from problems compared to those that just go to church as members. The Bible doesn't say any of that. It rains on the just as well as the unjust. So it does not matter if you serve the Lord or not. You're going to go through problems. But the difference is if you both are in God the right way, God can give y'all the strength to overcome these obstacles that normally would destroy most couples who do not serve the Lord at all. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about why these first ladies are leaving ministry marriages. First of all, there's a lot that goes behind closed doors. Like my mother has always told me, daughter, nothing is never what it looks like. Now, that's a simple sentence. I know y'all hear that all the time. It ain't never what it look like. It ain't never what it appears to be. But it is so true. It's very deep if you really dissect that everything is not the way it is presented to be. Okay, just because people look like they got it together doesn't mean they really have it together. Just because people look like they're happy, it does not really mean they're happy. Just because it looks like, they're not going through anything, it doesn't mean they're not going through anything. You have some people that have just learned to play the role, and even more so, you have to do that even more so in ministry, because also, in a sense, ministry is almost like being a celebrity. People are looking for any type of flaws, any type of failures, and the moment you give them something and they capture it, people are holding on to it and waiting to see your next move, waiting to see how you're going to react, waiting to see how you're going to handle it. So you're constantly being scrutinized. Eyes are always on you, which we know different between celebrities. Celebrities trying to serve their fans. In ministry, they're trying to serve the Lord. So that's the difference. But as far as not people perceiving you to be held to a certain standard just because you have a title and a status behind it, that just comes with the territory. People just forget that even with your status and your notoriety, you are a human being and things are not promised to any of us. So nevertheless, we're going to start with the first reason why first ladies are leaving ministry marriages. The first reason is that a lot of women are realizing that with their pastor husbands, their image is more important than having an actual marriage. Now, this is the same with celebrities. You have a lot of people that are more concerned with how people perceive their marriage versus them being concerned about having a real marriage at all, if any. So anytime you're in the limelight, and like I said, you don't just have to be a celebrity. Anytime you have a hold a certain status, when you are a community leader, when you are an influential leader, that's basically part of the roles that you play anytime you're in ministry. Anytime you decide to become a man of God, you preach the word, you take that role as a man of God to lead your flock, and to living for the Lord, and to not only living for the Lord, but also being for the Lord and knowing who the Lord is, being able to have that spiritual connection with God. So anytime you take on that role, it's automatically a standard that requires you to carry yourself in a very perfectionist-like manner. In other words, you are required to a higher standard. People look for you to have your house in order. People look for you to have your marriage in order. People look for you and your wife that's supposed to be leading the congregation, that are supposed to be leading the flock. They look for you to hold yourselves to a higher standard. And the problem is in some of these ministry marriages is that, again, you have these pastors and these first ladies. They have learned to become robots behind their ministry. They have learned to walk the walk, talk the talk. They have learned to play the role because, again, it's for many reasons. For one, they don't want people being able to identify any flaws in their marriage, because once people identify flaws in your marriage, they no longer perceive you as that leader that they have worshiped and that they have admired. Not only that, they don't want members spotting any type of deficiencies in a marriage, and they're leaving the congregation. Because let's face it, church is supposed to be a house of the Lord, but it's also a business. Like anything else, water has to be paid, light bills have to be paid. It takes money to run a church. And I know a lot of people get upset when it comes to paying tithes and 10%. They're looking at what the pastor driving, they're looking at where the pastor living, especially when you got to catch a bus to get to work, you got to catch an Uber to get to work, and your pastor is driving a Cadillac or Escalade, whatever. Nevertheless, we don't have a problem with celebrities where we're paying for their concert tickets and we're paying for their music that we download, but we don't care about their Rolls Royce and their Bentleys, because again, they're entertaining us, they're serving us in some way. And I feel like as long as your pastor is serving you, uplifting you, giving you a good word, and you're not hearing any scandals or anything surrounding his name, you should also give them that same respect for what they do with their money. But nevertheless, it's a business. They don't want to lose members, because when you lose members, you lose revenue. And let's just be frank. So it's all about preserving that image, because they don't want to lose the revenue. They don't want to bring reproach on their church, because anytime people starts to notice there's flaws, now when you're trying to give the word, you're trying to minister to couples, you're trying to minister to the single who want to get married. People don't really, they won't really absorb your word. They really won't take anything you say seriously. You know, they're going to always look at, well, you go through this and you go through that, so who are you to be preaching and ministering to me? So, you know, because of that, a lot of pastors and first ladies, they have learned to make their image more important than actually having a marriage. These are the ones that are driving to the church and the Cadillac Escalade. You know, the first lady is sitting on the stage behind her husband while he's speaking. Pastor Jenkins is preaching a good word. He's animated. He has the audience going. He got people clapping. He got people singing. And of course, she's sitting in the back behind him with her legs folded, with this elegant and grace, looking at her husband with such admiration, like she's so proud of the man of God he has became over the years. But as soon as church service is over and they have collected their 10%, you know, from the congregation, and after they gave their wonderful, you know, end of the sermon greetings, praise the Lord, bless the Lord, let's keep praising the Lord, you know, let no enemy used against us prosper, give you all of these wonderful, you know, praises and worship service, and as soon as they get there in that kind of like Escalade, they cussing each other like dogs. You know, I saw how you was looking at so-and-so in the front row. Well, I saw how you was in brother so-and-so face. You've been in his face a little too long. You've been talking to him for 20 minutes. Why is it you only been talking to brother Bradwell for 20 minutes and you ain't even had that much to say to the other men or the other women in the church? You will be surprised. Nothing is ever what the hell it looks like. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of first ladies are leaving ministry marriages. The image can no longer hold up their misery. They finally done got to a point to where, you know what, I'm tired of playing it off. I'm tired of smiling. I'm tired of acting like, you know, I'm so in love with this man of God. I'm sick of him. You know, he's not this man of God who he pretends to be, and he feels the same way. He loves his wife, but he's tired of her. You know, she's more concerned about the revenue and the money than she is being supportive of him in the right way, versus looking like she's supporting him. But when he goes home, she's not there helping him to prepare his sermons or whatever for the next day. She does very little to support him. Even though in the church, she looks like she's this hands-on first lady wife. Which brings me to my next point. A lot of first ladies are leaving ministry marriages because they know their husbands are not living what they are preaching. Nobody knows a man better than the woman who lives with him, who is married to him. I don't care how many women admire your husband on the outside. No matter how many women tell your husband is fine or your husband is successful, no different than a man. People can tell you got a beautiful wife, you got a gorgeous wife, but you know behind closed doors, she's a hellraiser. Okay? And the thing about these men in ministry, a lot of them are not living what they're preaching and teaching. You have a lot of first ladies who know a lot of their pastor husband's dirt. And let's face it, some of these pastors got more dirt than the graveyard. Okay. She knows that behind closed doors, her perfect pastor husband is not living what he's preaching. And she's witnessing how all of these men and women admire this supposedly man of God, but inside she's festering and boiling like a lobster because she knows that this fool is not living at all what he's preaching. He's speaking against adultery all the time, but yet he's fornicating, he's having adultery, committing adultery with some of the women in the church. He's fornicating and sexual activities with prostitutes and call girls outside of the church. She knows all of these things. She sees the banking statements. Pastor's not coming home, studying and preparing the word. Instead, he's outside, out behind closed doors, knocking boots with multiple women, he's not nowhere in the word like he pretends to be. She knows that he's more of the world instead of the word. She knows it. She knows, like I said, he's struggling with sexual urges. He's not fighting to control that. He's still having, relations with other women. If not that, he's drinking. He has an alcohol problem. He comes home, he drinks. He has a a liquor cabinet full of scotch, whiskey. She knows this man is constantly drinking. He's an alcoholic, but he's preaching not to drink alcohol. She knows that he's taking the church funds and he's gambling with that money, or he's putting it into bad investments. She just knows her pastor husband is living foul. And after a while, you get tired of having to put this front, especially when you're noticing that other people is noticing it. Whenever y'all have these monthly meetings, doing audits, and people in the board are asking, where's the money going? What's going on with this funds? What's going on with the accounts? And you know what your husband is doing, your pastor husband is doing, and he's sitting up here lying to these people, making it seem like he's investing it here, investing it there, and he's not doing right with his money. He's spending it foolishly. And as a wife, you've gotten on him about it. You told him about it. Honey, you're not doing good with the church funds. You're not doing good with the church money. Because he's the man of God, he's so well admired, he's telling you to be quiet, mind your own business. God is trusting me to run this church, so I know what I'm doing. Even though you see him making poor choices, even though you see that eventually it's going to come back to backfire on him, some of these men get very cocky and very bigoted with their positions, with their titles. And once a man's ego gets the best of him, just like a woman, where her looks gets the best of her, so many men have told her how fine and gorgeous she is, to where she don't think she got to humble herself a little. Same thing with a man with the title and the position. Once his ego has been stroked, he don't feel like he has to submit himself or bring himself down to try to learn, not even from the woman who's been standing by him and supporting him throughout this whole duration. So that's another reason women are leaving ministry. They know their husbands are living foul. They don't want to be there when the grits hit the fan. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be caught up in a scandal. So they leave. They jump ship. The next thing is the reason why a lot of first ladies are leaving ministry marriages is because the money is not really there. Now, we can't speak for mega ministries, these big congregations like what Bishop Eddie Long had, these mega churches, but you have some men that are so dedicated to God. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about those mega ministries too, but I want to talk about this example is in reference to men who are just starting out in the ministry. They're not making no money. They rented a little church building to start off with. Membership is not growing fast enough. Revenue is not coming in fast enough. And yet he has to keep being consistent. He has to keep being dedicated. And he's not working a real job. He's dependent on this ministry. He's thinking that this ministry is going to grow overnight, and you see he's been wrestling with this for 2-3 years, and his ministry still has grown. He's not making any money. And sometimes some men can become so overly consumed with trying to build a ministry that they fail to stay in reality and still work a normal job. Still working 9 to 5 until your ministry is to where it needs to be, where you don't have to work and run your ministry. You have some men that are so delusional. They get so obsessed with this vision of being a pastor that they're not realistically understanding that you're kicking out all this money to keep this ministry, but it's not growing. And let me be honest, sometimes God knows your heart. You could be doing a good thing, but if you're doing it with ill intentions or you're doing it for personal monetary gain, sometimes God will stunt your growth. He will not allow your dream to manifest and prosper because you don't have the right idea. You don't have the right drive for what you're doing. You could be doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. You really want this ministry because you just want to profit. It's not all about doing the will and work of God. You're trying to benefit. You want popularity, monetary. It's all about money and recognition. Revenue and recognition. That's what it's all about. These first ladies get fed up. Every year it's the same thing. If I don't get any money or if the ministry doesn't grow within a year, I'm going to let it go. He's been saying that for 10 years and he still has the same 3 church members and he's only been getting $20 once a month. And meanwhile, your light bill falling behind. Your house done went in foreclosure. I mean, a woman could only hold on for but so long. You know what I mean? It gets frustrating. You have some men that are so infatuated with becoming a pastor, they don't mind if their real household suffers because of it. It's crazy. And she finally gets her breaking point to where, you know what? This man is hard-headed. It's going on 10 years. I'm not about to invest no more time into this. So that's another reason. There's no money. Now, the other thing is why first ladies are leaving ministry marriages is because of money. These pastors, some of these pastors, once their church has grown exceedingly to where they have a mega ministry, they have over 8,000 members. Revenue is more than enough to where they can live off of their finances and ministry. They don't have to work. She doesn't have to work. So she feels like there's no need in me, trying to hang in this marriage that I'm already miserable in. He's already making really good money through his ministry. So this would be the time for me to go ahead, and file out divorce. So that way he has to still take care of me through his ministry. He doesn't need me. He's already well off. So you have some women who will divorce and leave their ministry marriages because their pastor husbands make enough money now. They no longer have to play that role. It was different when they were struggling and they didn't have the money. She had to stand by and be a little bit more patient because she was in a struggle with him. But now that he's making all this money, she don't feel the need to have to hang in there anymore. Deuces, I'm out. I done hung in there with you. We doing good. So let's divorce. Break me off my 75% and life goes on. You know what I'm saying? First ladies are leaving ministry marriages. They're also leaving because the demands, I'm tongue tied, y'all. The demands of being a first lady is too hard to maintain. Being a first lady, you have just as much expected of you as your husband does. You have all of these people in the church come to you about their problems, and women tend to gravitate towards women mostly. So you're going to always have women in the church that's going through issues, and you being a first lady, you being a mother of the church, you're being the lady of the ministry. Women are going to come to you and confide in you, and women by nature are already emotional, and we're very talkative. We're always, feeling the need to vent to someone. First ladies have to constantly, be the support, not only of their pastor husbands who need them 24/7. These women in the church, they need to vent to you about their marriages. They need to vent to you about why their sons, can't stay out of prison. It's like not only you're a wife, you're a counselor, you're a mentor, you're a therapist. you have like 20 damn roles. You the payroll. You got to also keep up with the money, make sure it's going where it's supposed to go. You're like the mother. You see one of your church members dressed inappropriately. You have to pull her aside and kind of mentor her out of love and let her know how inappropriate it is. It is a lot. It's a lot that's expected of you. And then on top of that, you're not allowed to be worldly. I said this was one of the issues with Megan Good. You can't be worldly. You can't be seen at the club. You can't be seen in the liquor store. You can't be seen drinking some wine. You can't be seen on the beach with a two-piece thong bikini, even though you're at a beach and that's a place where people wear them. All it takes is for one of your church members to see you with your butt cheeks out. And, the word is all over the congregation that, oh, you're supposed to be the first lady, but you're wearing thongs. I mean, you cannot be a human being. And at the end of the day, a woman is still a woman. You still want to be sexy. You still want to be beautiful. You still want to be able to wear your hair pieces sometimes. You still want to be able to wear your makeup, not so much to where you like a damn mannequin, but you still want to be a woman. And unfortunately, some of these churches are so strict and stern that they will not allow you to just be a woman. They want you to be a woman of God. You have to. I mentioned this on my last upload when I talked about Megan Good and Devon Franklin. Megan Good could not live like that. Especially if you're a younger woman in the ministry and you're like under 30 or in your middle 30s. You have not lived all your life. It's so many other things you have not experienced yet. It's hard to live up to that standard unless you're really mature, unless you really have a love for God where you're really to sacrifice all of those things. It is not easy. First ladies, they have to hold all these conferences, women conferences, all of these women ministry programs. It can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming. And on top of that, you still got to be a wife at home. You still got to be a mother. You still got to be a grandmother. It's a lot expected out of you. You still got to wear those hats at home. It does not stop because you got church programs, you got women's training workshop events and all this other stuff going on. You still got to come home, cook, clean, be a wife, unless you have a husband that in pastor that's well balanced. But keep in mind, he's a pastor. He has to do just as much, if not more, than you. So a lot of first ladies are leaving ministry marriages because of that reason. Another reason why first ladies are leaving ministry marriages because they realize they are still struggling with temptation. Being a pastor wife does not mean you automatically get rid of, all of your faults and your flaws. There is just so much that we struggle with. As a woman, I even have struggles. All of us have our own internal struggles. All of us have something that we have not conquered yet. Whether if that's alcohol, bad spending habits, sexual urges, inappropriate sexual behavior. Let's face it, some women are not just into men, they are also into women. Or you have women that are into younger men because they still have a high libido. They have strong sexual urges. So it's a lot of struggles that she may fear may come out because she has not conquered it yet. And she knows she's still living this deceitful life behind closed doors. She knows she's not this clean-cut first lady. And she's gotten to a point in which she does not want to keep hiding her struggles. So she'd rather jump ship before it comes out and people figure out, she's having difficulties in this area. Whether if it's sexually, emotionally, she's still experimenting, dibbling, dabbling in things that she should not be doing as a woman of God. It's better be honest with yourself as a first lady. And if you know you're still struggling with these demons behind closed doors, don't be getting behind these pulpits. Don't be sitting on these church pulpits and these stage behind your husband like you this elegant, clean, squeaky clean first lady. And once the church is over, you know, you meeting your side man, you stop into the liquor store, or you're engaging in porn. You'll be surprised. A lot of these first ladies have issues. And if they are not in denial and they know it's a struggle, they got any sense, they're not going to taint their reputation, their marriage, or their church by standing by someone in leadership, knowing they're not living the way they should be living. So that's another reason why first ladies are leaving ministry marriages. It's also because too, they know that there's a lot of dirty things going on behind the scenes of ministry. It's not just with their husbands. They know that a lot of these churches are not really for the people as they should be. You have these first ladies that know some of these churches are taking advantage of members. In some cases, she even knows that these churches are taking advantage of her husband, making him do all the sermons, making him do all the leading and everything, but they're not treating him right. They're not paying him a salary. But because he so badly wants that recognition, he so badly feels like this is what God has called him to do, he's willing to be blind to the fact that the church that they're in ministry with, that they are in fellowship with, is using them. And she's in tune with that, but he's not. That can be very aggravating when every time you have a meeting, with the board, and they're always coming up with these ideas. Well, we need to do this and we need to do that. And we think y'all should do this and we think y'all should do that. They're constantly pushing you to do more things. But yet they're willing to reward you very little for it. And this is very aggravating because you don't mind doing your part for the will of God, but at the same time, you don't want to keep getting used and keep getting pimped. It's a lot that's required out of it. So, of course, there's multiple reasons, but for the most part, I gave y'all the main foundations as to why some of these women are leaving their ministry marriages. There's just a lot expected out of them. But I know definitely one of the main reasons is it's a lot of these pastors that are definitely having affairs. They're definitely having affairs. And he keeps giving the same excuse over and over. God is working with me. God is dealing with me. God is, helping me to fight these demons. And there's several women who have stood by their pastor husbands, knowing these men was living reckless and not living for God. And because they didn't have the good sense to either put their foot down and say, look, you going to deal with this and get help or I'm leaving. Or either they stayed in denial, knowing what was going on. You end up paying the price behind it. You end up, when your pastor husband goes down, you go down with him. Two are as of one. So when you stand by these pastors and they living dirty, they living foul, and because you being the first lady, you're so more concerned with your image that you're willing to just overlook it. Keep in mind that when our Titanic ship sinks, you as the first lady, you're going to sink right along with it. Truth be told, the majority of these marriages only survive when they are genuinely in the position of leadership because they sincerely have a love for God. Anytime you go into ministry with any type of agenda, it's bound to come out. And not only is it bound to come out, it's bound to self-destruct the ministry. It will cause destruction upon your ministry. Anytime you have a motive other than doing this for the will of God, because this is what he has anointed you to do. This is the gift that he has given you. If you're in ministry for any other personal selfish gain other than what God has called you to do, it's bound to backfire. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. Everything, every blessing can't be done for free. We all have to make a living, right? We all got bills to pay, right? That is true. But guess what? If your heart is in the ministry the right way, do you not know God is going to provide? God is going to supply. You don't have to scheme, manipulate, or use the ministry as a platform in order to gain money, to gain revenue. If you're in the ministry for God and you're doing this for the love of God, all of the blessings, the money, everything you need in order to survive and make a decent living, that's going to come anyway. That's coming with it. You don't have to scheme. You don't have to lie. You don't have to plot. You don't have to make up programs and make up all type of things to get people to feel sorry for you and to have your members tithe into you and donate more to you. It's naturally going to flow. Your gift, if it's utilized for the love of God, it's going to bless you. He's going to bless you one way or the other. But again, that's only if you genuinely have a love of God and you, mostly importantly, you believe in God. If you really don't believe in him, you don't feel he exists, you don't feel like you have to serve him, then that is your personal business. But you can't go around here not believing in him, but yet you want to use him in order to build yourself, build your ministry, and build the image of your family. Because for a little while, he'll let you have your way. He'll let you get all the praise, the accolades, the admiration. Sometimes God will let us have our way for a little while just to see what we're going to do. He'll bless you with prosperity. He'll bless you with popularity. He'll bless you with all of these things just to see where your heart is, just to see, are you going to take these blessings and praise yourself? Or are you going to take these blessings and say, had it not been for God, had it not been for the Lord on my side, I would have not had what I have today. I would not be who I am today. Or are you going to take all of the blessings and make it seem like it was only you that made it happen? Don't give him no acknowledgement. Don't give him any praise. And this is the difference when we do things because we're doing it for the love of God and we're doing it for the love of ourselves and the love of money. The truth is going to manifest on what your real reasons were for it. Because if your real intentions were for money, he's going to give you plenty of that. But the same way you got high with that money, how you got to praise and worship with that money, that's going to be the very thing that's going to bring you to shame and ruin. That's going to be the very thing that's going to break you down and make you have to humble yourself. And you're going to go right back to where you started from, broke with nothing, singing the blues. So sometimes God will bless you just to test you, just to see how you're going to do, how you're going to act. Are you going to get high and mighty? Are you going to start smelling yourself? Are you only going to praise and worship yourself and act like I had nothing to do with it? That's what God does sometimes. But these ministry marriages are, first of all, it's not for everybody. It's only for special individuals, people who are anointed. When God has anointed you to do something, that means he has already designed the gift in you to be able to do it without feeling like you're struggling, without feeling like you're having difficulty doing it, without you feeling like you got to learn how to do it. Don't get me wrong, even when you're anointed in something, certain things you have to learn. But the thing about it is, you'll have the patience. You'll naturally have the patience. You won't have to fight to gain patience. You won't have to fight to be something that God has already called you to do. Because once he has called you to do it, once he has assigned you, meaning he has anointed you to use that gift, you're not going to have to stress to use that gift. It's just going to naturally flow. Like some people can naturally do hip hop. Some people can just freestyle right off the dome. That's their worldly gift. You have others, they got to get other people to write it for them. They got to get other people to train them how to freestyle. They don't naturally have the gift. And when you have to constantly be taught something, sometimes the stress of being able to learn it can be a little bit more challenging compared to somebody that's naturally gifted at it. No different than an actor. You know, just some things we are gifted in doing. But anyway, I broke down for the most part the reasons why a lot of these women are leaving the ministry. Some of these pastors, they're not men of God. They're just men who pretend to know God. And don't get me wrong, you can't always easily detect these false prophets. They know how to move the crowd. They know how to be animated. They know how to throw in jokes. They know how to draw a crowd, draw an audience to them. You got what's called motivational speakers, and you have spiritual leaders. There's a difference. There are those who are called and anointed and leading you into the spirit, and there are others, they just know how to finesse. They know how to say the right words. They know how to pick out the right scriptures. Anything to make you feel good, but at the end of the day, it doesn't bring you any real solid substance. Like fast food. They know how to give you something that tastes good and fills you up for the moment, but it runs right straight through you because it wasn't healthy to begin with. As for solid food, it's going to stick to you. You won't you won't digest it as easily. You know, you'll digest it better, but not as easily. You know what I mean? So anyway, these were my reasons for why there are women leaving ministry. And I think I'm also do part 2 on why men are leaving ministry. I think that'll only be fair. We can do 2. Yeah, so look out for the part 2. So I'm going to also address why pastors are leaving their wives. But I know I'm probably not going to have much to say about that because it's more women leaving their pastors' husbands than pastor husbands are leaving their wives. But I will still break down the elements even though it does not happen as consistently as women do. First ladies within the ministry. But anyway, we'll talk about it. So leave y'all comment below. Let me know what y'all think about these first ladies, these pastor wives. What are some other elements I may not have mentioned as to why they are walking out, leaving these ministry marriages? If you could think of any, leave it in the comment below. I may bring it. I may do part 2 if I feel like there's more elements that I did not add to the equation. And I'll further address those. So anyway, leave your comment below. Let me know what you think. This is your girl, your diva, and knowledge, Lady Mocha. Remember, I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth and break you off with a slice of knowledge. Don't forget, guys, ladies, if you're interested in my hair oil, my beard oil, 2 bottles for $15, 1 bottle for $10. Also, I'm selling cable, 9,000 channels, only $25 a month. So hit me up if you're interested. Y'all have a good one. Don't forget to hit that like button. Take care.